this video, we're going to be adding fractions with unlike denominators. Remember that word unlike. That un means not, so not like denominators. So denominators that are not the same. But you know that the denominators have to be the same in order to add the two fractions together. So today, we are going to be using words like LCM, or least common multiple, and equivalent. Remember, equivalent fractions are simply fractions that are equal. We're going to be using our LCM to create equivalent fractions so we can add these fractions. Let's dive in. The first side of the sheet I want you to work on looks like this. It's got a lot of words on it because I wanted to walk you through the steps. You're also going to keep this sheet in your notebook, so if you ever forget, your steps are going to be right there. All right, let's start with step number 1. It says find the LCM. Remember that LCM is the least common multiple. I went ahead and gave you the T-chart to start with that. So let's go ahead and put our 3 on one side and our 4 on the other and write out those multiples. Remember, the multiples are found by multiplying the number by ascending numbers. So we're going to start with 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. I like to do the first 5 multiples. We might need more later, but we're going to stop there first. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with number 4. Remember, if you need more time to write, you can always pause the video or back it up. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Oh, look. There it is. I hope you caught it. There's our least common multiple right there. And I gave you a blank down here. I want you to write your least common multiple is 12. 12 is that least common multiple between 1/3 and 2/4. Now we're going to find the equivalent fractions using the LCM. We practiced this on Friday, so let's practice it again today. We've got our 1/3 and our 2/4. We want to make sure our denominator becomes our least common multiple, which is 12, so we can have those common denominators. Now let's go ahead and find the equivalent fraction. Remember, this step says 3 times what will get me 12. We're reading that as 3 times what will get me 12. I know that 3 times 4 will get me 12, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And I know that if I multiply the denominator times 4, I also have to multiply the numerator by the exact same number. So I'm going to multiply that by 4 as well, because as you see, 4 over 4, it equals 1. So we're basically just multiplying the 1/3 times 1 to get an equivalent or equal fraction that has a different denominator. 1 times 4 is 4. So the equivalent fraction for 1/3 is 4/12. Let's move on to 2/4. I know that 4 times something will get me 12. And in my brain, I'm looking over here. 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3 will get me 12. If I multiply the denominator times 4, I also have to multiply the numerator times 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So that means my equivalent fraction for 2/4 is 6/12. Now let's follow those arrows and come on down here to step 3. It says add the equivalent fractions with like denominators. So we have our common denominator is 12, and our equivalent fractions are here. So we're going to go ahead and pick them up and draw them down here. We've got 4/12 plus 6/12. Beautiful. Now you know how to add this. These are common like denominators. You've got this. I know I'm going to go ahead and say 4/12 plus 6/12. I'm going to bring over my 12 because you do not add the denominator. You just bring it over. And then we're going to add 4 plus 6 is 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. I did give you some room on some other pages to simplify. You would need to simplify this answer. We could divide both numbers by 2 and get 5/6. So your answer would be 5/6. Looking good, looking good. Remember to back up the video if you need to. Let's dive into the second problem. As you can see, I left some of the words on. And I told you there were 3 steps, but I didn't tell you what they were. Let's see if we can remember. All right, step 1, we've got 2/3 plus 1/2. I've got my T-chart here, so I'm going to go ahead and make my T-chart. I want you to go ahead on your computer and list out the first 5 multiples of the number 3. Go. You should have gotten 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 5 is 15. I know you're like, Miss Wilson, I didn't need to do the first 5. I know, but it's good practice for you. Let's go ahead and do our multiples of 2. We've got 2, 4, 6, and there is our least common multiple. It is 6. I hope you got the least common multiple of 6. Now let's go ahead and come up here and make some equivalent fractions. We've got 2/3 and 1/2. And I know I want my denominators to be 6. So how am I going to get from 3 to 6? 3 times 2 is 6. And if I multiply the denominator by 2, I also have to multiply the numerator by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So we've got 4/6 as our first fraction. Now let's do the 1/2. I know that 2 times 3 is 6, because I set it up here. Just use the commutative property to flip-flop those factors. 2 times 3 is 6, so I'm going to multiply the 1 times 3 as well. 1 times 3 is 3. So I've got 4/6 plus 3/6. And you just go ahead and bring that denominator over. 4 plus 3 is 7. Are we done? Oh no. Now we've got 7/6. You cannot turn in an improper fraction, so we're going to go ahead and say 7 divided by 6 would be 1 and 1/6. Remember how we do that is we divide 7 divided by 6 because it's not just a fraction, it's also a division problem. We went ahead and divided that out. My remainder is 1. My divisor was 6, so it was 1 and 1/6. I'm going to squeeze my answer right in there. 1 and 1/6. Looking good, looking good. I'm going to do one more for you, and then you're going to do 2 on your own. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page there. Reminding us I can add fractions with unlike denominators. We've got 2/3 plus 1/6. 2/3 plus 1/6. Go ahead and find your least common multiple. For this one, it was super easy. All you had to do was write your 3, 6, 9, and 6, 12. Look, there it is. I want to remind you that we're looking for the least common multiple to keep our numbers low. Because if I had kept going, I would have eventually gotten to 12. And 12 is a common multiple, and it would work as a denominator. We want the least common denominator. That would keep our numbers a little bit smaller. So we've got our LCM equals 6. And let's move on to creating equivalent fractions. We've got our 2/3 and 1/6. And I know I want my denominator to be 6. Look right here, my 1/6. I'm going to leave it alone. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 1 is 1. 1/6. Now we need to add in our 2/3 and make it to have a denominator of 6. I know that 3 times 2 is 6, and if I multiply the denominator by it, I also have to multiply the numerator. 2 times 2 is 4. So let's bring that down. We've got 4/6. I know that 1/6 plus 4/6 has to have a 6 as a denominator because your denominator stays the same. And 1 plus 4 is 5. And there's no reason to simplify that, so we can go ahead and put it in the circle. Your answer for that one was 5/6. Remember to check your work. Make sure your work looks just like mine and back it up if you need to. All right, last 2 problems. This one says 2/5 plus 3/4. So I want you to go ahead and type in the first. Actually, go ahead and select the least common multiple. Select the least common multiple of 2/5 and 3/4. For this one, you should have gone ahead and made your T-chart. You got 5, 10, 15, 20. We've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So that lets me know that the LCM was 20. I hope that's what you got as well. So let's bring over our fractions. We've got 2/5 and 3/4, and I know my denominator is going to be 20 for both. Let's create some equivalent fractions. Go ahead and tell me what you think the equivalent fractions will be. Go ahead and tell me what the equivalent fractions are. So I want that answer and that answer. Go ahead and go. Let's solve these. I know in order to get from 5 to 20, I'm going to multiply by 4 because 5 times 4 is 20. And if I multiply the denominator by a number, I also need to multiply the numerator by the exact same number. So 2 times 4 is 8. I've got 8/20ths so far. In order to get from 4 to 20, I'll multiply by 5 because 4 times 5 is 20. And if I multiply the denominator by 5, I also have to multiply the numerator by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Let's go ahead and bring it down. We've got 15/20ths plus 8/20ths. I'm going to count and say 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Uh-oh. 23 is my numerator, and 20 is my denominator because your denominator stays the same whenever you add fractions with common denominators. Okay, so I know I'm going to have a 1 because I'm going to pull a 20 out of my 23. So I'm going to subtract 20 over 20. because 20 over 20 equals 1. I'm going to pull out that whole number. I'm going to be left with 3/20. So after I pull out that whole number, I have my 1 there. I'm going to say 3/20. 1 and 3/20 is my answer. Let's go ahead and dive into the very last problem. I want you to go ahead. I think I'm going to have you solve it all. Come up with your final answer. Make sure it's reduced. Come up with that final answer. I'd love to see if you got it correct. All right, first you should have come up with your T-chart. 3 and 8. 3, 6, 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 9 is 20. Oh, my brain is like super struggling. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 7 is 21. I'm sure you were yelling that in your head. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 9 is 27. There we go. Sometimes your brain stops working, but it's okay. All right, let's do our 8s. We've got 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. There it is. My LCM is 24. So I hope you brought your fractions over. You had 2/3 equals something over 24. And 5/8 equals something over 24. In order to get from 3 to 24, you had to multiply by 8 because 3 times 8 is 24. And if I multiply my denominator by a number, I also have to multiply my numerator by the same number. 2 times 8 is 16, so I've got 16/24. This is my first fraction. Now let's do that second fraction. 8 times something is 24. I know that 8 times 3 is 24. And if I multiply the denominator by 3, I also need to multiply the numerator by the same number. 5 times 3 is 15. So I've got 16/24 plus 15/24. I know I'm going to go ahead and bring that 24 over because your denominator stays the same, but we need to add 16 and 15. So the way my brain adds those is I know that 15 plus 15 is 30. So 15 plus 16 must be 31. 31 over 24. That's an improper fraction. I hope you caught it. 31 divided by 24. I'm going to pull 24 out of there. And that's going to leave me with 7. So we've got 24 and, 1 and 7/24. 1 and 7/24. There you go. 1 and 7/24 is your answer for this problem. If that's what you got as well, you can pat yourself on the back. If it is not, go back and double check your work and see where you went wrong. See if you can catch your mistake and fix it so that you get the same answer. And as always, if you can't figure out what you missed, please raise your hand so I can come and help.